he cruised up just out of into the vegetation a little bit, and then we followed on. We followed on gently, gently, and I was pretty excited at that point. I must admit, I was beside myself that the first animal or the first carnivore that I'd seen on Djuma was a leopard, and a big leopard at that. Well, a big leopard for his age. He's still got a lot to grow, but he's a boy. He's only about 2.5 or 2.5, and I really was impressed with this animal. So we let him go, and I didn't know much about that particular individual. So it's really hard when you don't know whether they're conditioned or habituated as much as some of the others. So I just wanted to back off a little bit, let him go. We did a bit of a walk, a drive around, came back, and he was walking down the road. Now that encounter for me, he walked right beside my vehicle about 2 meters from my vehicle. Or his home range, and that was really extraordinary as well, because she is the ultimate queen of Djuma, and she is the most relaxed, chilled out leopard you could actually ever find. She let me just get so close to her, and then what I did was got around the front of her, and she started hunting. Now that hunting situation was nearly successful. She got to a point where she was going after a young nyala, and we sat with her. The nyala saw, and she wasn't successful, unfortunately. But then we followed her again, and she tried again, which was absolutely brilliant. It was quite an extraordinary experience. I've just got a bit of action going on here, guys. I think we're going to just have to keep it real. What's going on? Do I need to know something we're going to throw to? Peter, we're going to throw to Peter. Okay. I think that's probably easier, guys, if we do that. We're going to throw to Peter, everyone. So if we're going to cross to him right now, I'll come back to you and carry on with a few more stories and then take some questions as well. Let's go to Peter.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to a nice cool afternoon. A little bit drizzly and rainy. It's been raining on and off most of the day, as HT has explained to you. Firstly, welcome to Sabi Sands. From myself, Peter, we've got Jason behind the camera today. Jason, nice to have in the vehicle. Thanks for all the help today. Will, Alex, Rafi, whose birthday it is, everyone back in the control, and of course HT and VM back at the safe spot for the rain for now. And lovely to have you out here. It's always a pleasure. Firstly, there's that. Looking forward to the afternoon. We're not going to go very far from base because we have this sort of rain coming and going. But we decided to go and sort of poke our toe, if there's maybe some pun in that. So we are going to stick around. It's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful area around the quarantine area. We've put up a little sort of canvas hideout for Jason and myself to run to, and more importantly, I'm much more waterproof than the gear on the back of this vehicle. So we have somewhere to go, but we are going to look around a little bit. I've spotted something not far from you already, and of course get back to that leopard in Kuyuma, or Kunyuma, who's a bit shy this morning, but hopefully we're going to try and see him as well. So some things to look forward to. A little bit of a curveball for us sometimes with what we're doing. It is a very special time and a beautiful time to be in the bush. Whenever it's raining, animals are happy. There's going to be water, there's going to be food, and myself coming from a desert country like Namibia, I'm always happy when it's raining. So we'll enjoy that, and we'll look at that and try and share some of that with you as far as is possible, if that makes sense. What I was looking at earlier, we can actually see right from here. Just look that way. Just there. It is a beautiful dead log. I love dead logs. Tree branches, when they dry out after the trees have died, they just create this beautiful art shapes. Oh, and of course there's an elephant, yes. Just in case you didn't notice. Alright, let's go look at him. stick around close to camp, but we are lucky enough to have this lovely area called Quarantine, and it's a very scenic piece. It was opened years ago. Some of the brush was cleared away to allow animals brought into this area some place to get accustomed to the conditions, calm down after being transferred. Wild animals, when caught and then transferred, are obviously stressed when they get to the new destination. So this was a place where they were left. It was big enough that they could run around, but small enough that they couldn't sort of just scatter and get all mixed up and get lost from each other. So I've seen over years amazing. I've seen all the big animals. I've seen wild dogs hunt in this area as well. So a cool area, and we've got potentially leopard close by. So if you can drive around in the bush where things are still wild, when the big animals roam, no matter how, when or what, it is always a privilege and always a pleasure. Speaking of big animals, they don't really come much bigger than this unless they live in the ocean. Got incredible skin, these animals. I'm just looking at this specific bull. He's probably in his mid-late 20s, but if you look at this area, sort of the backside area there, you can see all the folds and the crinkles and the wrinkles and the life of this animal. Very thick, very tough skin. And this one is rubbing his backside probably this afternoon against a tree. You can see the texture there from having a little scrub or a little rub, a little scratch. Sorry, he's probably... Let's go this side. There we go. Good afternoon, mister. Sorry, guy, I'm just going to stop this side and I'm going to switch off. It's very important when you get your elephant to, if possible, when possible, switch off the engine. Because all he was doing there, he was asking me, what am I doing? What's your intentions? Gave me a little head shake. Normally I would prefer to have been switched off already, but there was a tree in our way. And now you can see that, hey, they've stopped. I've switched off the engine. There's no strange mechanical noises, a little bit from the broadcasting gear, but that's something that won't bother them. I'm curious. I like seeing elephant bulls. Breeding herds are amazing. I mean, breeding herds with the babies and the cows and everything, that's always very cool. But the bulls like this, 2 or 3 bachelors just sort of chilling together, they can be great characters. I was saying to Jason earlier, we saw a couple of bulls in the afternoon when we were doing some testing, and I would be so happy if there's 1 or 2 bulls, and it happens, that stick around this area for 2, 3, 4 weeks, just to get to know an individual. This guy I quite like. I really like his attitude. He is a bit curious about us. He's listening. Look at his ears. You see the way he's holding the ears? Slightly tilted up. He's listening to what I'm saying. Maybe not the English words, but certainly the voice tone, the sound that he gets from it. And it is great to talk with elephants. They can get the sense that you're not stressed or that you're not harassing them. And over time, you can get to know certain individuals. I would love it if this guy became a character for us. And over time, you can get to know certain individuals. I would love it if this guy became a character for us, and if I could get to know him. We used to have a guy that will be the elephant I remember from this visit. Over the years and all the different places I've been, different game reserves that I've spent time in, there's always been at least one elephant that one could have a special bond with or a special experience with. Closer to 30, maybe even, I don't think much over 30. A little sleep. The bigger they get, the less it happens. Big elephants like this guy we're looking at now will probably go days, I presume even weeks without lying down. They do like to swim, take the weight off their legs a little bit, but not lying down all that often. The problem is from lying down, it's very difficult. Well, it's difficult to lie down to begin with. If you weigh, this guy is probably 4 tons, maybe, yeah, probably 4.5 tons. So if you weigh 3, 4, 5, 6 tons, in pounds, Donna, that would be times 2.2. So let's say between 8 and 13,000 pounds. It's difficult to lie down, but it's even more difficult to get up. So if they do lie down, you find them often using a slight sort of a bank or something that has a bit of an angle, like a slope, so that they can get up easier. But there's been cases where they found, I saw the pictures in National Geographic actually, which like they tend to do, find amazing things and amazing stories out in nature and the world. And there were some images a couple of years ago about a whole herd of elephants just sleeping flat, like lions after a meal. So they do lie down, but it's not common. It's not something you see often. I've only seen big elephant or adult elephants lying down a handful of times, 4 or 5 times in my life. Such intelligent animals, people don't always realize how smart these animals are. We all know that chimpanzees and gorillas are intelligent, and we even understand a lot of their body language. They even understand a lot of ours. They even learn some things. Over the years, people have taught chimpanzees and even gorillas interesting things, and they've learned interesting things. We understand them easier because they're primates. They're similar to us. Elephants are considered more intelligent. So we're dealing with animals that are highly intelligent. They might not be as easy to understand for us because they look so different from us. Their body language is so different. Even their communication, we can only hear about 1/3 of their communication. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Hayden, if you're in the control watching, there was your drongo in the background. HC's been trying to show a drongo and they're just not playing with him. Oh, look at him. It's massive. Hello. Big guy. Joyce from Pennsylvania is just asking why I changed my mind on the age. Joyce, I think maybe I might have been misunderstood or misheard there. I didn't say he's over 50. He's probably just over 30. So I've increased my original estimate by about 5 years. So instead of saying he's sort of mid to late 20s, I'm saying he's probably 30, just early 30s. The reason is just the size. Once I got closer to him, and also when we saw him at first, he was walking away. A big part of the age estimate for me with elephants is looking at the skull, the head. With elephants, bull and cow, but especially with the bulls, their skulls keep growing and their skulls keep getting heavier the older they get, and bigger. You will see, if you see the really big guys, 45, 50, 55-year-old bulls, they've got massive skulls. And so once I saw him sort of broadside or from the side and his tusks and everything again, then I reevaluated. So yeah, I would go with 30s. I wouldn't say older than, at the oldest, mid-30s, but I would say probably, if I had to put an age to it, I would say he's 30. How old are you today, Rafi? Rafi's got his birthday today, and he is 32. So I would say this guy is 32. That would be my closest estimate. He's the same age as Raphael, who's one of the team here. And that would probably be quite close. I mean, I could be out by 1 or 2 years. Either way, you have to look at the teeth inside the mouth, not the tusks, not these guys. Inside the jaw, in there, they've got these rows of teeth that come out. And you have to look at that to really get the exact age. He's eating a little bit of acacia there, some thorny bits. Not spines, these are thorns now. Remember we discussed that earlier. Look at how he's using the tusk. I love that. Gets the branches together, the little twigs, and he just snaps it off using the tusk. Interestingly enough, elephants tend to have a favorite side that they use the tusk, so left hand or right hand side. like humans, they tend to be better coordinated on one of the two. That was so cool. He literally walked from there all the way around. He's done like a little half moon around us. So I was sort of hiding from you there. It looks like they might be heading up. I see the other elephant up that side as well. It looks like they're heading into the open. So I think we should stick with them a bit. Guess I'm going to turn that side. From Germany with us today. So I don't speak fluent German at all, but I can Mädchen. I was just thinking about das ist gut, ja. There's a drongo. Let's have a look at this bird quickly. The black bird there. One of HD's favorites, one of my favorites. In fact, one of the names I played with for a while as a nickname was the Shangaan name for this. In Shangaan they call them Montengo. And great little characters, very intelligent birds, highly intelligent birds actually. And they often follow animals around, buffalo, giraffe, elephant, the vehicles. When we go off-road with the Jigga or with little landies we're using, you might sometimes find a drongo fly. And they often follow animals around, buffalo, giraffe, elephant, the vehicles. When if we ever get renegades coming into this reserve, if we ever get renegades coming into this reserve, interesting choice of renegades. Yeah, I guess you could call them renegades. I mean, unfortunately, what I'm thinking of when I hear that question, and I'm sure what you're thinking of as well, would be poachers. And unfortunately, we do get poachers, not massively starving, very well protected. We've met some of the guys that are working on the anti-poaching units, brilliant guys. Or people from Mozambique walking through, so they would be more refugees, I guess, or people that want to escape, well, not escape from Mozambique, but want to try and get better life in South Africa. They walk through Kruger as well, but it's not that common. They try and understand because there's quite a high density of lodges and vehicles here, so chance of detection is higher. Ah, look at that. Hello, mister. You get a little headshot of his ears. So he's got that little notch in his. If you look right in his ear, just that little notch there. That would be the one thing we can recognize him from. He's got a little chip out of the right tip of his tusk, of his right tusk. He doesn't have any major markings. You know, you with big holes or big tears in their ears, and that's always easy to recognize. But this guy is fairly, how shall I put it, whole still. Not too many cuts and bruises on him. There's the other guy coming out as well. As I said, there are two of them. That's a slightly younger bull. He would be in his late 20s. Just looking at his head size. Just compare that quickly. If you look at him, look at the sort of the skull head size. And then we compare. Just looking at his head size. Just compare that quickly. If you look at him, look at the sort of the skull head size. and then we come. Hey, big guy. What shall we call you? What shall we call you? I know what I'm going to call him. Renegade is it's a strange term, Richard. I'm not sure. Maybe you've seen some programs, or maybe you've been to places like Pilat where there were social issues or social questions, maybe is a better word, asked around elephant populations, and many of them were answered through various studies. I was happy or lucky to be a small part of that, and learned a ton about elephants from people like Andre Klokker, who was an amazing guy, Joyce Poole, and so forth. And the term renegade ellies, again, I would say that's almost more a term given to elephants by humans not understanding them, rather than by elephants being renegades, if that makes sense. In other words, they would be people that are social problems because they weren't growing up in social conditions with big and small that goes with it. Or they're young bulls, sort of like some of the younger guys, sort of like what we're looking at now. This guy is getting into maturity now, but they'd be young elephant that problems because they weren't growing up in social conditions, not sort of your background. You can't really see it. It's very thick cloud cover. It's not sort of your I'm looking at the other elephant and he's not listening. This guy, whenever he's closer to us, he tilts the ears up and he's listening. He's eating some, what is he eating there? A little bit of some herbs, some little have an amazing amount of muscle strands, if you want to call it that. Again, depending on what you read and how they explain it, but have an amazing amount of muscle strands, if you want to call it that. Again, depending on what you read and how they explain it, but ja, vir ek het toe monthly maar daar law of you're in quarantine. And are you going to book off for that Ingwe? But I will go maybe 10 minutes or so. I'll go check there. I'll let you know. And then just so you know, we've put up like a cover, like a canvas roof, just here on quarantine for some Vula's coming, so that I can fuck up my mobile there. Is that alright? Okay, come on then. I'll give you a call in the Ingwe, maybe 10 minutes or so. If you go around Gallagher shortcut, maybe I'll meet you that side. Okay, come on, folks. Alright. Richard was asking if old bull elephants, when they get kicked out by the herds, have a chip on their shoulders. I don't know. Elephants are intelligent enough to probably have a chip on the way, but they don't get kicked out of the herds. Bull elephants get pushed out of the herd at sort of adolescence or teenage years. Normally, yeah, between as young as, I've seen bulls as young as 12, 13, but normally 15, 16 years old, they get pushed out of the herd. It's not instant thing. It's not one day everything's good and the next they get chased out. It's a gradual process. They get sort of pushed to the periphery of the group. In that time they get to know some of the other bulls that follow the herds, and then they slowly progress into sort of bachelor society with other bulls. They will often hang around with female herds and breeding herds, but they don't form part of the herd. With elephant, you've got your breeding herd structure run by a matriarch, and a very strong and relatively strict social structure within the herd, but adult bulls don't form a permanent part of the group. You will find certain bulls that hang around with certain herds more often, depending on the area. I mean, there's a lot of variables in modern day Africa. I mean, going back 1,000 years, it was all wild, but now you have to look at population size and habitat size and so forth as well, that also play a role. Oh, he's doing his magic trick. You see, the elephant is disappearing. The whole elephant is fitting behind the tree. We're just going to wait here for him. He knows where we are. We're going to enjoy the drongo. HD, I wish you were on the vehicle with us. Got great drongos today. Well, it seems we have lots of people joining us from London today. That's fantastic. I love London. HT lives in London. I've got good friends there. My sister's living there at the moment. It is a cool place, especially in winter. But Alexander, if I'm getting the name right, is asking if my Jeep, which is not a Jeep, it's a Land Rover, is faster than a speeding bullet. No, sorry, Alexander. You're asking if it's faster than a charging bull. Almost the same. Well, yes, if it gets there, but 0 to 100 the bull would win. But it really is not the case. I mean, you don't, with elephant especially, again, as I've mentioned, you're dealing with highly intelligent animals that communicate a lot through body language, and you shouldn't get to a place where you have to run away from elephants. And elephants often will chase you just because you're running away as well. I've seen that many times. I can tell you hundreds of funny stories with elephants chasing cars, and we eventually, there'd be cars running away, and you get them on the road and they say, oh, there's a crazy elephant chasing us. And I drive up the road and you find that elephant and he's just playing around with people or messing around, and you sit. And we used to have a few bulls in Pilansberg that would come right up to you. I used to have elephants put their trunks in the bonnet of the car, on the hood, depending where you're from, and sort of just tap it like fingers, just looking down into the cabin. So you shouldn't get to a stage where you have to run away from them. But elephants, to maybe give you more statistical information, they can charge at full speed over 50 kilometers an hour. Us as humans, Usain Bolt in a good day does about 38, 39 kilometers an hour. Anyone that's in relatively good condition with an elephant chasing them can do about 45 kilometers an hour. And this car, I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Adrenaline is an amazing thing. And then, of course, just move a little bit. Otherwise, amongst many things Jason can do, he's not a contortionist. Standing by, Tick. For this morning they were from Billy, but they went to Puzamati Tamboti Dam, and then they settled down there. I don't know where they went from there. Also this morning we had Mvula, Madora Ingwe, in the dip there by Gari Cutline Buffelshoek boundary, in the dip, and he just went a little bit north into the Skobani. Yeah, I'm just going to spend a bit more time with these in Love, and then I'll let you know about that Ingwe Kunuma. He was a little bit now, and maybe we should get a few votes. Naming animals is always very difficult, especially if you ask everyone on the vehicle to join in, because we'd all. And I know from past experience to say that let's find a name for an animal can be a little bit chaotic. But I've got I have a name that I'm sure about. Thinking of Drongo, just because we had such a beautiful view of those Drongos flying around and following. There's a Drongo again, as we speak about it. So Drongo is the one that came in on my second place list, if that makes sense. Not that that makes sense, but you know what I mean. I haven't. Ellie. So the whole camp will call Raffi Ellie, and we call this Ellie Raffi. That's quite strange. You shouldn't be able to push that tree over. Now they do this in... come on, you're not going to push that tree over. That's a beautiful marula tree. In summertime, around February, when the fruits are ripe, they push these marula trees and they shake them so the fruits can fall down. There we go. Just take a smaller branch. That's much better. Even though you would be able to push that over, they are incredibly strong. Look at that reach. We're now looking at probably about a 6 that over. They are incredibly strong. Look at that reach. We're now looking at probably about a 6-meter reach. Go around the side a little bit. Raffi's best view is from the front. I like this elephant. He's got a nice broad, big head, wide tusks. He should be, when he reaches his prime. Turn a little bit. They're slowly moving down towards some really thick stuff, so we're going to stick. Interesting mix of food he's eaten so far since we've watched him. Zebra wood, a bit of acacia earlier, there's thorn trees, now eating marula branches amongst the grass earlier, and a little bit, a couple of leaves of leadwood, which is strange. I don't normally eat a lot of leadwood, but they are truly what's referred to as mixed. Just give me that name again, please. Was it Bob or Rob? Well, Bob in Iowa. Other than did you? This is one of my favorite questions to get from people. Is this really live? And it's the easiest thing in the world to say. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We question, and I can imagine the first time you do this, that it must be almost surreal, because of all the live things I know of, very few of them are really interactive. Very few of them are to the point where we can talk to each other. But the short answer, Bob, is yes, and as alive as it gets. Out in nature here, out in the African bush, which is a very special place for me, there is so much life around us. There's so much to be aware of. All the plants and the insects and the bird life. We get days we just get so many birds singing around you. And then of course the big game, the elephants, the leopard that we might go see just now. Lots of things to enjoy. Yeah, that would actually be, well, actually, Lisa, if you spoke Afrikaans, that would be really funny, because in Afrikaans, when we make, we call it verkleinwoordjies. You make words smaller by adding E. So Lisa's saying she thought Raffi might be the word for a small giraffe. So you get a big giraffe, and then you get a Raffi for the small one. In Afrikaans, that's actually hilarious. And then Mary's saying she loves the name. I think it's an awesome name. I've been very lucky that I've named a lot of elephants over the years. Not a lot, but I don't know, 10 or 20. because you try and find something special, either to something that happens. Ideally, you also reference it to some hole, or mngodi. We had one here called a mngodi, which means hole. Those are elephants with holes in their ears. Or V, if it's got a big V notch, or double V if it's got 2 notches, that kind of thing. Or then, of course, occurrences, something that chased you. Or we used to have one that was called Somali. He had a little point like the African horn on his ear. But Raffi is a perfect name for today. Or a very cool elephant. I like his style here as well. He's got a bit of a swagger. You'll have to remember this elephant very carefully. He doesn't have that many marks. As we said, that little tiny chip on the right tip of his tusk, and just that small notch. Sorry, Jason, I can't hear what you're saying.
His tail?
Yeah?
Very little hair on it.
Jason's saying his tail has got very little hair on it. That's something to remember as well. Although that could easily be confused when you see another elephant with very little hair on his tail. But I like it. I tell you guys what, I've got a brilliant idea. Jason, I'm going to go a little bit, I was going to go forward, but I don't think I'm going to go forward. I'm going to go slightly back. We're going to wait, let's go forward first. Basically what I'm getting to, Jason is going to show us around this elephant. We will start with the ears and the tusks, and we will end with the tail. And I will mention things as we go along that you could recognize him from. But we will focus, go slightly back. We're going to wait, let's go forward first. Basically what I'm getting to, Jason is going to show us around this elephant. We will start with the ears and the tusks, and we will end with the tail. And I will mention things as we go along that you could recognize him from. But we will focus mainly on the front end, and of course also goes around the trunk. The tusk tip is a start. You sometimes get peculiar marks on the trunk front, but I don't see any on this guy. So there you go, a little chip in the front point of the right tusk. And also we know that this elephant's left-handed. Remember we saw him feeding earlier, so if you look at the left tusk, the left-hand side tusk, there you can say it's worn down a bit more. It's a little bit smoother. Then the ear, so he's going to disappear on us. There's that notch, sort of lower right down. There's a little square notch, almost like he took a little finger out of it. If you sort of pushed your finger through, and a tiny little notch further up. Where are we now? So that's the main notch, and then the tiny little notch further up, like a slightly off-angled square notch there. And then I was hoping he'll give us a look at his head. What Ian Douglas Hamilton used to do, who was actually knighted for his work on elephants over the years, and both his daughters got involved with wildlife to some extent or another as well. He did a lot of crazy things, very interesting guy. But he used to get these elephants to give him a little mock charge, and I would love to do that for you now, but I don't think that will be as nicely accepted by the powers that be. So I'm not going to do it now. But what you do is you walk up to them, so they give you a little mock charge, and they open the ears, and then you get that shot of both ears open, and that's your ID shots. And that's how he got a lot of his IDs and lots of elephants that he studied, mainly in East Africa, but he also worked over the rest of Africa. He also did a lot of interesting flying. All right, now the tail end. There we go. We can see the tail end is not that many hairs on it. Jason, agreed? One little notch in it. So no big massive markings to recognize him from, but his size, his tusks, we will recognize Raffi when we see him again. Great, well this elephant's moving off slowly. So last quick question there from Daniel on Twitter. Guys, remember if you want to ask us questions, you can email to questions@wildearth.tv or you can tweet at #SafariLive. Daniel just tweeted asking if I've been to the Taba Hall in Kruger National Park, where there's all kinds of memorabilia and exhibits, if you want, of what was called the Magnificent Seven. There were 7 magnificent elephant bulls in Kruger National Park, as we watch this guy walk off. And Daniel, I have been there, but not in a long time. I can't remember when, 10, 15 years ago, and it really is something to see. And not to go on about Rafi too much today, but you know what? When it's someone's birthday and they're far away from home in a beautiful place like Africa, it's alright to go on a little bit about someone's birthday. So Rafi is planning a little trip to Kruger, and I hope that he manages to go see that, because it really gives you an idea of the magnificence of these creatures by way of showing you the magnificent or most magnificentest of of the elephants. They were incredible elephants, and really something to see. Well, that was magnificent. I really enjoyed that, guys. Yeah, Ellie's different pace, and with elephants you really can just immerse yourself with them. I hope this guy, as I've said many times this afternoon, sticks around. I would love to see more of him, love to get to know him more. We might still see him today, because we are sticking close by with the weather the way it is. We're going to go look for a leopard now, so don't go anywhere. If you have friends that haven't been on a safari, maybe Bob, that might be interested in the fact that this is actually live, this is happening right now as we speak, give them a shot. I can't promise, but I would say we've got a 51% chance. No, we've got a 91% chance of seeing a leopard somewhere in the next 5 to 10 minutes. We're going to head over there and have a look. Somewhere in the next 5 to 10 minutes. We're going to head over there and have a look. And then after that, depending on what the leopard's up to, those elephants are slowly heading down to Gari Waterhole or to Boetela Dam. So it might be that we catch up with them again once they go for a drink. Let's talk to Texan. I know he's also very keen to see leopard. He's got a new guest today. Texan again. Yeah, I'm leaving those two in Love. They're heading into the Slatine there towards the Kayas. And I'm going around, so I'm going to we'll go for that Ingwe now. I'll give you updates in 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm not sure where they went afterwards. Andrew was out this morning. But I'll give you an update on the Ingwe soon. It's cold. Are you warm enough, Jason?
Put the heat on.
Okay, let me just, there we go, okay. Alright, how's that? Close the window a bit for you, there on the side maybe? Alright. It's actually quite cold. A little twig snap, and it was a bird actually, but as birds tend to do. There it goes. No, let's see. Fly away. Got some zebra here. That looks like quite a pregnant female actually. Zebras, unlike most of the other herbivores, don't have their young at a specific time. You get a little bit of an increase in births during summer, but they do have foals throughout the year, but the majority of it now in summertime. Unlike your, for instance, Impala or wildebeest that have their young specifically in season. Beautiful from the front like that. Just look at the markings on the face, how they all culminate on the nose and on the forehead, going into the main perfect mohawk. Such amazing patterns, really are. People, I mean, you see zebras all the time, but if you look at the detail of the, call it the design if you want, beautiful. A couple of the zebra just catching up with the herd. Here's the last one. We're going to have the oldest joke in the Game Ranger book. A zebra crossing. Got a question from Pittsburgh. Hello, Amanda. Amanda's just asking, if animals get sick or hurt out here, what do we do? Are there any vets on site? The shorter answer, Amanda, is no. We are in a very big, very big ecological open area. In other words, we're talking over 2 million hectares. It's about 6 million plus acres, you know, with thousands of animals, and it is a wild system. In other words, if an animal gets hurt, normally what happens is the lions will eat it, because that's what they do. They eat the old animals or the hurt ones or whichever, and the same goes for sick animals. We don't intervene to that extent. Obviously, if it's specific animals, maybe something that's like a wild dog or rhino, something like that, then if possible there will be some intervention. Kruger does have a vet, various vets, but the whole key here is that animals live wild, and part of the natural selection process is that old animals, sick animals and so forth sort of go into the food chain rather than into surgery. Always swishing the tails. All the animals do that, but no, I think no animal more than zebra. Zebras almost always have the tail swishing. Chasing the flies, keeping the bugs away. It's quite funny, especially in summer when it's nice and hot and there's lots of flies. You'll often see the zebra when they're resting in the daytime. They will stand head to tail, so that the one's head is in the vicinity of the other one's tail, and that way they keep flies away from each other's faces as well. Sort of the opposite of what we're seeing. Hello, Donna. Donna just asking if there's ever been an albino zebra found. Donna, not that I know of. I'm sure, given enough time, you know, sort of with infinite possibilities, there would have been some born over the years. I think they don't do very well in your sort of diurnal plains game environment. The sun alone would be a problem for them, and they would also stand out. However, I have seen what I guess you could go as far as calling melanistic forms of zebras in Etosha, actually, where they go, and it would be the opposite of albino, but that I have seen. As we're going to just roll along, I saw a couple of wildebeest trotting along down the road. Dara is asking if there's only one drive out this afternoon. For now, yes. We had sort of imminent rain, and we had HT set up back at camp just to be able to chat to you guys if it rained and I had to run for cover. That still is the plan. Although it's looking not too bad now, actually. The clouds have thinned out to the point where I think we won't have much more rain probably until closer to dark. So yes, for now it's just me, Darren. Also, I'm staying close to camp. I'm not going very far. Luckily, we have lots of activity close to camp. We have wildebeest running way down there, zebra, we had great elephant, and we are on our way to look for the leopard. But speaking of which, maybe that's a good point, Dar. Perhaps one or two questions can be thrown HT's way, just to say hello from the campsite. I wouldn't actually mind just to stretch my legs for 2 minutes. We were very busy up until the time when we headed off on drive. So if that's a possibility, let's look at this quickly on the ground here. I think maybe in a little bit, I would love it for you guys to say hello to HT. So if someone have one or two interesting questions for HT, you know what, here's a question. Someone, I can't ask it to him, but if someone can ask him, what's his 3 favorite destinations in the world? HT has traveled to over 50 countries in the world. I am very jealous, and I can say this openly because we're good friends now. We're actually becoming very close mates. But he's been to over 53 countries in the world, visiting wildlife destinations, people that live extremely traditional lives. He's been to so many places. So maybe someone can ask him, what's his 3 favorite places in the world? I would love to know that. But let's look at this quickly. On the ground there. Jealous, and I can say this openly because we're good friends now. We're actually becoming very close mates. But he's been to over 53 countries in the world, visiting wildlife destinations, people that live extremely traditional lives. He's been to so many places. So maybe someone can ask him, what's his 3 favorite? Get better at telling them. If someone can ask HT if he knows or have ever read in his experience, vast experience of wildlife, if he's ever heard of a talking millipede. So those are the 2 questions I would love to hear the answers to. 3 favorite places in the world, and if he's ever come across or heard of a talking millipede. I think he'll know what I'm talking about. But this is a millipede. They've got lots of feet. They don't actually have 1,000 legs. The Afrikaans name also means 1,000 legs. They have normally 100 or 200 legs depending on the type of species. Look at how it makes almost like a wave when they walk. I love that. Like a little Mexican wave as the legs move forward in time with the rest. But from a millipede, we're going to go back to camp quickly, catch up with HT a little bit, and I'm curious to know what questions he's got. We won't be very long, then I'm going to ask HT to get us back on the vehicle again because I want to go over and start looking for that leopard. We'll see you just now.
So here we go again. I'm back with you undercover, and Pete's been out seeing some fantastic animals. I just heard that he's asked you to ask me some interesting questions, which I will definitely come to in a minute. Pete's seen nice elephant, nice giraffe, I think, as well, which is fantastic. And the weather's looking stable-ish, So we'll see how we go. We might try and get this vehicle out. We're not sure yet. We've just got to keep an eye on the weather, so we'll keep you posted on that. But I think I left you with just talking about leopard and how exciting the leopard are here on Djuma and Arathusa. Pete's still looking for that individual that we found this morning, which I hadn't seen before. When I found him this morning, he up a tree, and it dropped out of the tree as soon as we got there, which was quite incredible to see. And he grabbed it and then took it off a little bit further, which is where we followed. Now, Djuma is a little bit Djuma and Arathusa. Pete's still looking for that individual that we found this morning, which I hadn't seen before. When I found him this morning, he up a tree, and it dropped out of the tree. And I just got a couple of photographs that I can work off to try and recognise him as well now. They're incredibly elusive, but at the same time incredibly conditioned here, as we talked about before. I'm feeling really, really fantastic about seeing these individuals. I've seen Quarantine, Karula, haven't seen Shadow yet. I'm looking forward to seeing Shadow. That's Karula's daughter as well. And I've seen Kanyuma, Tingana. So I'm plotting those all on a map as well, which is fantastic, and it gives me a little bit more of an understanding of their territories. There's lots of other animals here that I'm also fascinated with, and giraffes is one of those. I've seen giraffes here up close and personal. Giraffes are pretty widely spread throughout Africa, but still in some areas critically from. And a really good mate of mine runs an organisation called the Giraffe Conservation Foundation, Dr. Julian Fennessy, and he updates us with lots of information about giraffe and the situation. So it's really important to understand that giraffe are in a place like many other animals, and do as much research and get some knowledge on that, because they really do need a helping hand. The giraffe on Djuma are absolutely fantastic. There was a youngster born up here on quite recently. That's a Buffalo Nation travelling across country, and so he was drinking 26 pints a day at one point. This giraffe that I hand read in Australia. But yeah, Buffalo, that lion experience we had, amazing. To sit around with those lions surrounding us, literally only 2 meters from the vehicle, not stressed by us at all. And over the days, they become very, very used to us. Consume that buffalo was quite an incredible thing. A beautiful, beautiful pride. They've moved out of here now, and that's something that we're going to keep an eye on and pursue as well. But the leopard that came up this morning, it was just a really frustrating situation with the weather and so on. Carry on, but two at once nearly, Mvula and Kanyuma at the same time. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. A little bit about my background, which I'm sure most of you who have watched a bit before know, but for those that don't, what's an Australian guy or Australian-born guy doing here at Safari Wild? Well, I was asked to do this job. I've done a lot of work for National Geographic, and it was, one of my dreams come true, working for them. The weather and so on, carry on, but two at once nearly, Mvula and Kanyuma at the same time. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. A little bit about my background, which I'm sure most of you who have watched a bit before know, but for those that don't, what's an Australian guy or Australian-born guy doing here at Safari Wild? Well, I was asked to do this job. I've done a lot of work for National Geographic, and it was, one of my dreams come true, working for them. I've been privileged to travel to many parts of the world with them, and if it wasn't them, I would never have done the travel that I've done. So that's been as women. So it's a bit of a stretch being away for Pete, being away from your family for 7 weeks at a time. But at the same time, it's an incredibly beautiful situation to be able to through this through live broadcasting and really trying to connect with everyone there, but as well my boy and my wife can watch that as well. I think we might have some questions coming through. Is that right, Will? You can use in your own repertoire if you want after this. So a little boy goes to ask his dad if he can get a new pet, and they go to the pet shop. I'm going to make this really quick for you. They go to the pet shop and he says to his dad, I want something different. I don't want just a guinea pig or a fish or something like that. I'd actually like something really different. So they went up to the pet shop owner and they said, you've got something different. And the pet shop owner said, I've got a talking millipede. Oh yeah, talking millipede. And the little boy goes, Daddy, please, can I have it? Please, sure. Talking, unbelievable. Get home and he gets into his bedroom and he opens the box and he says to the millipede, Mr. Millipede, would you like to come down to the supermarket and see what things we eat and have a little bit of a look at our lifestyle, and yeah, we'd like to take you down. He listened to the box. There's nothing, no reply whatsoever. It's supposed to be a talking millipede. Anyway, so his dad said, come back about an hour later and we'll see what happens. So he comes back an hour later, says to the millipede, hey, Mr. Millipede, would you like to come down to the park and see us play? We're going to kick a ball around and maybe have a bit of fun. Would you like to do that with us? Complete silence. Absolute silence. He says, I'll come back an hour later. His dad said, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. He comes back an hour later and he says, Mr. Millipede, would you like to come down and have something to eat for dinner with us, and see what we eat, or we could offer some food to you. It'd be really great. I'd need to know a little bit more about you, get to know your personality a bit. Listen. I'd like to come down and have something to eat for dinner with us, and see what we eat, or we could offer some food to you. It'd be really great. I'd need to know a little bit more about you, get to know your personality a bit. Listens to the box, complete silence. He said, Dad, this is rubbish. This is not true. This is not a talking millipede. I'm really disappointed. And just as he said that, this little voice, magnificent place, this absolutely magnificent place, is one of the places that I've been to that I have never ever experienced these big cats. Unreal. And that's what it's a joke.
Much. I think we should have enough time to go scratch around. Shame, poor Texan, he's had to be. Look at a quick Franklin here, just before we go on. There's one running away, just on the bottom here. It's the bird I saw just now. This is an Natal Franklin. Hey, and this one is running. And Franklins are such a big part of the experience of being in the bush, especially in the low veld. You hear them calling early mornings, late afternoons. Really for me and for anyone else that spends some time in the bush, unanimous with being out here. Natal Franklin. Spoke about that the other day. Alright, but let's focus now on trying to get a look at the leopard if it's around, just in case this weather does sneak up on us. Break my heart. That wildebeest car was still there. Just a bit of a recap while we're making our way in. This morning feels like a lifetime ago actually. So HT found a leopard up in a tree there. A carcass, and I didn't get all the exact details. Lots going on today. Where's my turn off? Let's turn here. And the female was still around, that wildebeest. It was her day old, maybe 2 days old, and it really is just a parent again, second time. At the same time, not to make me sad, I have to say that keeping in mind that this is a young leopard, he's only about 2 years old, not even. And for him, food is an important thing. It's an important resource to get. So we must also be happy for him that he found what he needs to survive. And we're going to try and spot him from up here. We're sitting up on a bank with the riverbed down below. Also because this leopard is a little bit... I mean, he might have left also. That's also a possibility. But he had some food left, so more than likely he will be around here somewhere. But Jason, eagle eyes, huh? Anywhere in that thick stuff, or further back, anywhere around here. He's a sneaky cat. Djuma. His name actually means shy as well. Not that he's that shy. I mean, shy in Sabi Sands is relative. You know, he's more relaxed than most other leopard in most other game reserves. But let's start with the tree where the food was in. There's a buffalo thorn, Jason, watch out. Oh, the food is gone. Let me show you where it was, just to remind. So Rafi was in the vehicle this morning. The food was there in that fork. But it's all gone now. Now it could be gone. The food was there in that fork. But it's all gone. I don't see it in the tree. Let's just stick around and move along a little bit. Sorry, that was a bit of a square circle comment. Let's stick around and move along. Bank for now. And try and spot him down there, but he might have just moved it all together, not impossible. I think we should just go have a look. Further into the tree. If that's the case, it's good to know. If not, if he's moved it all together, then maybe that's that. dip now, just to give you an idea of how much lower we are than earlier. No, I don't see it there. I think he might have moved it all together. Speak too soon, but I think he might be gone. I'm not going to go looking for him much more than just checking this tree. Alright, well, I'm just going to sit a little bit. Basically, he does actually tell me that this leopard has moved the kill. He's moved it somewhere else. But it's always good with a leopard. I mean, he could be lying right here 5 yards from us, 10 yards from us, and we won't necessarily see him. So let's give ourselves a minute or two, have a close look around. Jason also sitting a little bit higher up than I am, so Jason, use those young eyes. But I think this guy has decided to move along. Very difficult now to see tracks. It's relatively sandy and it's been raining, so it's some sand gets better for tracking when it gets wet. In other words, the paw prints are clearer or easier to see. Other servers are big. The remaining food wasn't that heavy. What I mean with that is, if it was a big carcass, you'd have to drag it in order to move it. Did you hear something? I thought I heard something here. But this was small enough that if you did move it, you just pick it up and walk with it. So it wouldn't necessarily leave a clear sort of drag trail like a bigger carcass would. Update Texan as well. They know to go look for other leopards. Texan again. Ja, sorry it took so long, but this ingwe is familie, for ons is dit Djuma familie. Foot or two back. Always good to just change perspective. One of my favorite birds calling there. Can't mimic their call. That one. That one. It's a white-browed scrub robin. Little bird, not spectacular to see, but beautiful songs. I can feel we're going into the later afternoon now. It's such a stunning area, this as well. That's a Djuma tree, the one of the light, sort of dark, straight trunk. Very hard wood. Also a tree that animals often like to rest under in the day when it's hot. Djuma don't get many insects that live on or in them. It's got a very strong poisonous latex. Not many things utilize it, so it's a good tree to rest under. There's not many bugs buzzing around. Okay, well, let's brush next to us. Just have a good look in this area to our left. That's where he was hiding earlier. Oh, there he is, there he is. Awesome, 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 awesome. Guys, we're going to move very slowly. That's quite shy. We just saw this, but I love that about leopard. He's right there. I just glimpsed him through a little gap here, but you're going to have to turn slightly. We're going to turn very slowly. I'm not going to go too close as well, so let's just try and see if we can just turn enough to get a view of him. Walk through the twigs. I'm just going to slowly get him used to us. You see him? Okay, I'll go straight in where you are now. Do you see him? Okay. It's got him. It's going to be through the branches. Just see the spots there. Okay, we're going to just very, very slowly sneak up on him. Guy is a little bit shy, so it's looking good. He's relaxed. It's relatively. Here we go. Hey, very good news, and I must let the game drivers know. Very important part of the whole teamwork aspect out here. We thought we couldn't find him, and look at that. Just look at that. it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us. Perfect. Guys, welcome back. A bit of breakup. We're in some difficult terrain here, but we found another spot and actually a better view. Just look at the beauty here. Yo, what a cat. Amazing color eyes. Just had to finish the radio talk conversation quickly. Someone come to join us. See the little branch on the track, and then you turn 90 degrees off. The road sort of snakes in a little bit. It's not very far. You should be able to see me as you approach the donga. And then you can see from up there, or you can follow the tracks along and cross through to this side. South. So you're coming down, if you're coming from that big Jackalberry towards Voitela, you'll be turning south towards the little drainage line, basically the one below the wall from the dam. Beautiful cat. Looks a lot like his father. Some of the coloration around the eyes. We actually saw his father not far from here this morning, less than half a mile. His father is considered one of the five biggest lions. He looks like a lion. 5 biggest leopard in Sabi Sands. His name is Umvula, which means rain. That's awesome. He was so shy this morning, now he's getting a little bit playful almost. Little tail twitching, curiosity. I mentioned this morning that this leopard's very habituated to vehicles. I mean, we followed him the other night and he was not bothered by us at all in thick terrain. But he seems to be very aware of, and this morning seemed a little bit wary of, and this afternoon he's starting to feel like curious of the camera lens. Quite a big lens on the camera that's essentially the eye from the vehicle, and it looks like a big eye and it reflects light. And I think that's what have had him a bit aware of us this morning, and it seems a little bit curious now, so that's good news. It means this guy is quickly getting used to us. We would love to see more as well. Djuma, one of Karula's 2 cubs, now sort of on the verge of becoming independent. Well, he is actually independent. He's catching his own food already, but he's still staying in his mum's area. Good question, Jane, and thank you for letting us know where Smithsville is. I wouldn't have been able to guess. Close to the Niagara Falls. Jane's just asking about his kill. Would he have moved it? Would he have finished it? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't think he would have finished it. It wasn't very big, but it should still last him for a day or so. I think he might have moved it. Maybe it's just, it is small enough that maybe he's tucked it into a fork with the tree and we just couldn't see it. That's quite a big tall tree as well, so that could also be it. Right, any copy? And how's it? Nice to see you again. Yeah, you can see us down here. Obviously, he's just between your direction from us in this little patch. You can see him from up there if you come up to the edge of the bank. Otherwise, there's a little trail just along the sort of skirting the bank, and you'll see there's a crossing point. and you can follow through there. No, it's Djuma, one of the two youngsters of Karula. We saw Mvula this morning just in the dip, Gari Katlan Junction, Bafusuk boundary, but he headed north into Bafusuk. We've got a little gap here. I mean, we've got the benefit of the lens, but he's a little bit wary of us, but he's relaxed nicely now. So maybe have a peek at him from up there first and then down here, but you don't have that many people, so it should be good for you. Look through the leaves. Yeah. It was amazing, yeah. Guys, this is Vernon's a great guy. I've known Vernon for a number of years now. He does a lot of really great motivational speaking as well. Just a lovely guy, and he's just commenting on that wild dog experience we had about a week or so ago. That amazing hunt that we saw. And it's quickly spreading, the story of that. I'm going to move very slightly. Just going to move a foot to the back. Sorry guys, we're on the very margin of signal here. I'm getting very worried there. Just to see this guy, we've got a little gap here. There we go. Oh, just look at that. Ah, look at that face. Yo. I can never get over how beautiful they are. Just look at that. Ah, look at that face. Yo. I can never get over how beautiful they are. Lazy afternoon. Eyelids getting heavy. Cheers, Vernon. You guys are on for a few days. Staying up in Manuleti, but we're out every day, so we'll catch up tomorrow on the drive somewhere and take it from there. Vernon is someone I really would like to catch up with, so. Hi again, Donna. Donna's just asking a question that people often wonder about, when would this leopard have to eat again? Now that varies a lot, or well, again, and when he will kill again, which is actually the question Donna asked, it can vary a little bit. But on average, we always say you work on roughly about a kill a week with leopard. That is obviously an average. I mean, they would also, leopards are very versatile. They would eat, especially, now, he would eat little things as well. He would catch a little mouse if he came across it, or a bird. If he's walking along and there's a dove that doesn't take off quick enough, he'll catch it. So there might be little sort of snacks along the way. But in terms of real, proper eating, sort of mid-size for them. In other words, a big duiker or an impala, something like that, that'll last them normally 2 or 3 days that they're feeding, and then they would normally kill 2 or 3 days after that again, give or take a day or two. So you're looking at roughly 1 kill every 5 to 8 days. But if it's smaller things, I mean, this wildebeest wasn't very big. I don't think this guy will be on it for more than another day. I'm not sure where the carcass is, but I'm sure there must be something left. So you'll probably find that he will be hunting again by tomorrow or the next day, but it's not always that they're successful. So might be a few days before he catches new food. Little bird making alarm calls there. Tweet, 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 tweet. Hello Natasha from Brighton. We've got that pier that tends to light up every now and again. Natasha is just asking if the two brothers, now we're talking about this guy, Djuma, his brother is called Quarantine, would they ever meet up and what would happen? Well, it's a good question. Firstly, short term, the chance that they would meet up now in the next 2, 3, 4 months is quite high because they're still sharing an area, a mutual territory, which actually it falls under their mum's area, and they're tolerated within this area by Mvula, who's the dominant male, who is also their father. So at the moment, neither of them are territorial at all, and they are still juveniles. They're not independent adult. In the next while, there's a good chance they'll meet up just because they're sharing a similar area. And what would happen? They would probably get along quite well. They might still play a little bit. I mean, they were best friends for the last 22 months or so. They've grown up together, played together. You know, they suckled from Karula together. They shared kills with her. But at the same time, they wouldn't necessarily be looking for each other anymore. And there might even be some aggression is maybe too strong, but antagonism, if you want, between them. That's short term. Now, within the next 1 to 6 months, they will leave this area because they will be becoming more sexually mature, and they will grow up, and they will get pressure from Mvula to leave, the big male, and whether they would then meet up with each other again. Oh, Natasha, it's probably, I would say, highly unlikely, just because they, excuse me, they will go different areas. They will disperse. They will cover lots of ground until they eventually, at age 4 years, probably 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5 years, around that, when they can then start to sort of carve out their own area, their own territory, and and then start their own, dominant behavior and offspring hopefully later on. So the chances of them actually meeting each other, let's say they leave in the next 3 or 4 months, after that is not that likely. It's not impossible. How they will get on then is also a little bit open to see. I mean, we are still learning new things about leopard behavior all the time, but I would think that they would recognize each other, certainly, if you put a little bit of practice into it, even though they can easily look all the same, but they have very, very different facial markings, so they would definitely recognize each other, I would say, even years later. I can't imagine that they won't. Would they be friendly to each other? I don't necessarily think so. Would they be more tolerant with each other than they would be with other big males? I would certainly think so. But this is stuff that has not been studied enough, purely because leopards are so elusive and they cover such large areas, especially the males. When they disperse, they can go anywhere. They could move 5 or 10 miles from here, they could move 200 miles from here. It just depends on the situation. That ties in perfectly with what we're talking about. Pamela, hello Pamela, just asking if Induna are still around. Now, those are 2 amazing cats. We spent a very special time with them, saw them grow up. Induna and Misho, they were a second litter, both males, and they're definitely not around here where we can see them. I mean, they might be in the vicinity, they might be up north in Manuleti or east in Kruger, but for these males, they disperse once they become old enough, and they could go anywhere. I have thought about them quite often. I would love to see those 2 again. We spent many, many, many amazing hours with them. The name Kunyuma, we've got another leopard here. Again, there's some history in the names. Karula's first litter was called Saseka and Tingana, is what we called them. Later on the names changed to Tundi and Shadow, and Tundi and Shadow are still both around. That's the benefit of female cubs, is they often stay in the general vicinity of where they were born. And why I'm saying that is that Tingana, which is now called Shadow, means shy, but so does Kunyuma. Kunyuma in Shangaan or Tsonga also means shy or elusive, and that's what this guy was named for. He's still, I can see from his behavior, he's just inherently a little bit shy and a little bit more wary of what's going on around him than his brother Quarantine, who just seems to be very, sort of like Karula, just gung-ho, doesn't care, does his own thing, not bothered by anything. This guy's a little bit shy. I like this leopard a lot. He's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful face. Do like him. Quite different looking from his brother. He's substantially smaller as well. Lighter. He's not as dark. But a beautiful face. And I like this bit of playfulness just now, the way he looked at us. He's a lovely cat. And Canada. What's his name? I'm so sorry, I forgot your name. Well, and then will help me just now. But that's just to answer the question that was asked from Canada. Hillary, thank you very much, Will. Sorry, Hillary. I thought I'll drop your name in at the end of the answer rather than the beginning, and then I forgot your name. That's really bad. Where in Canada, Hillary? My father actually lived and worked in Canada quite a while. A couple of different parts. There's a lot of South African doctors in Canada. I'm sure you know about that. We're going to sit with this leopard. He's sleeping at the moment. I must say it's making me quite lazy as well. But I'm hoping that he gets up. He's also getting more used to us. This is a very important or very fortunate opportunity for us to get him more used to us and the vehicle, which is a bit different from the other game drive vehicles. And maybe he gets up and goes to his food if there's food left, and we can see what's happening there. Oh, that's cool. Thank you, Rosie, just letting us know on Twitter that Induna is one of the young males we spoke of earlier. Induna was Karula's second litter, and he would be about 7 years old now. Yeah, 7 years old. Probably this December he'll be about 7. Now both him and Misho. Misho means dawn, was the name for his other brother. Beautiful cats. They would be half brothers to these guys. They were fathered most likely by Mafufanyani, who was the big male leopard resident male back then. Essentially Mvula is the male that took over from him. So this leopard is lying down in a bit of a thicket here, but sort of a little clearing amongst the shrub. Anna just letting us know that she's made a family tree for these leopard. And it'll be great if you can share it with us at the control as well. We can put it up there for the guys to have a look at. Make sure we don't stumble over whose leopard is who, or which, who's who in the. And it'll be great if you can share it with us at the control as well. We can put it up there for the guys to have a look at. Make sure we don't stumble over whose leopard is who, or which, who's who in the zoo kind of thing. Not that this is a zoo at all, but as the saying goes. I was so lucky that HT found this leopard this morning, and I told him afterwards, because to find it later on, I came in here just to make sure where it is, and I followed his tracks in, and it was quite a bit of driving to. That is very cold, and that's in of 5 or 6 or something like that, 10 Fahrenheit. I don't know how the lower scale Fahrenheit works. I think that's one of the great things about this area is the freedom animals have, the space to be wild in. Earlier asking if we look after animals if they're sick or injured, the answer was no, and that's part of this wildlife, and it really is spectacular when animals have true freedom. In fact, you can say the same for humans. I think humans are more often trapped wild in. Earlier asking if we look after animals if they're sick or injured, the answer was no, and that's part of this wildlife, and it really is spectacular when animals have true freedom. In fact, you can say the same for humans. I think humans are more often trapped much easier than animals, but true freedom is something that's very special. You get a strength maybe, or a wildness from it that I just love. Janice was just asking if there's a fence to keep the animals in. Janice, not in the way that you were asking about the quarantine area. Way back when, going back 20 or 30 years ago, the quarantine area was fenced in. but not at all. There is, however, a fence keeping animals from moving into some of the habituated or not habituated, some of the areas outside the park, and also from keeping those people and cattle and things coming in. But that fence keeps in or surrounds an area of, I must actually go and look, maybe someone can help me quickly. If someone could be so kind, please, and let me know what is the total ecological area available in the Greater Kruger National Park. What I mean with that is Kruger National hectares, but 2.1 million hectares is a vast area. Not nearly what it used to be. Go back 100, 200 years, all Africa was still open. Well, extent up significant doesn't actually begin to describe it. Lots of interesting statistics about. If you think of wildlife and places to explore, I've been very lucky, fortunate, seen a lot in Africa. I would love to see. I would love to go do this, what we're doing right now in East Gorillas, and go see the great migrants. Etosha Pan, where I'm from, you get such amazing wildlife areas. Etosha Pan, where I'm from, you get such amazing wildlife areas. But we'll just get some numbers through there, some other continents for that matter. Now 7% might sound alright. Think of it this way, 93% is not this anymore. I do hope we look at now 7% might sound alright. Think of it this way, 93% is not this anymore. So they do change in the case of zebra. Further north you go, there is some change in the coloration patterns. Easily just, they would swim, would even use the water. I mean, there's a pride of lions there, followed and studied and shown to. So the males need to move along. I get the breath. But we're busy with Raja's question, just slipped my mind there exactly what it was. I'd love to answer Raja's question as well. But Gert is just asking, she had a red-chested cuckoo calling, and would it change its call, or would it try and leave the area if it saw the leopard? Red-chested cuckoos, as far as I know, don't actually have an alarm call. It's not impossible that they do, but I'm not aware of one. Red-chested cuckoo, just for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, is a bird, and it is a parasite or a parasitic nesting behavior like cuckoos do, and the call sounds like this. Also calling a bit earlier. Raja was just asking about the weather, how cool it is. And we've had, I quite like this weather. We've had extremely hot weather, Raja. I'm not sure where in India you're from, but you guys strangers to hot weather. 5 days ago, we had 36, 38, 39 degrees Celsius. That's over 100 Fahrenheit, 102. At the moment, we're probably looking at about 14 or something like that, 12 degrees. It's not cold, cool enough to almost be cold. Hey, every time you see those eyes, heart jumps a little bit. Very, very pretty cat, this. Interesting question from, I'm not sure if it's Mr. or Mrs. M. Neely. We like to talk first name basis, but Mr. or Mrs. Neely is just asking if Gorilla would recognize her offspring from previous litters. In other words, she's had 4 litters by now. Will she recognize them if she saw them sometime down the line? I think, and again, this is difficult because it's a difficult scenario to study. But what she's experienced and from what I've read, by people that study these and talk to people that see a lot of leopard, just difficult scenario to study. But by people that study these and talk to people that see a lot of leopard, just look at that. Very good made here by Conmaro, who's just asking, hello Michael, you would expect a leopard to get up, start moving around this time of the day or the night, the sort of dusk time. Typically your predators, typically your cats, typically leopard, are quite active around sunset and sunrise, dusk and dawn. They are quite active at night, but they're also quite active in daytime. So they're not specific to times. But certainly, Michael, normally this time of night would be when a leopard starts getting active. But this one made a kill this morning. So the belly is full. To do if they're not busy eating. Sorry, I've got something in my throat. If they're not busy feeding, they need to be patrolling their areas, scent marking, making sure they don't allow other males in, making sure that some of the females in their territories aren't perhaps an estrus. So they've got a lot of things to do. This male only has sort of surviving for now to do. And what I mean by that is he's got to hone his hunting skills and get ready to ultimately become totally independent, which will be happening anywhere in the next sort of 1 to 6 months or so. So right for this moment, this leopard's happy just to enjoy having a full belly and a nice place to sleep. We're going to slowly start putting a bit of light in the sky. Now they do see lights very often with the game drive vehicles. Just to get a little bit more of view there for us. Oh, there we go, this light's quite bright. Pamela from Phoenix, hello Pamela, just asking if leopard would ever sleep up in trees or whether they just use it for keeping their food in or the kills in. Well, they definitely use it for keeping the food in, because if they stash the carcass up in a tree, it's not likely to be stolen by things like hyena and lion. They do sleep in trees as well. Pamela, Again, in the Sabi Sands, I see leopard more often sleeping on the ground, but leopards do often sleep in trees. I've seen leopards sleeping in trees here. If there were hyenas around now, which is not impossible to start happening at any minute, this guy would be up in the tree sleeping there as well. So they do that, but a lot of the time they just sleep somewhere sort of tucked away in the bush. So I want to just try something here. I'm just going to switch the light off a little bit. I can still see him well enough. I want to see we've got a little spotlight on the vehicle here, which I would love to get on him. Which means I'll have to just turn slightly. I want to stay here for the rest of the drive with this guy. It's just such a good opportunity to get him used to us, for us to get to know him a little bit. But if all goes well, we will see this guy again over the next weeks. And when a better chance than now to get him used to us. Also, it's not very busy. There's not many other game drives wanting to join. But I do need to turn a little bit. Oi, sorry, mister. Also good for him to see that we are moving slightly, that he doesn't forget that we are here. Just going to try to get a bit more light on him. Can I turn that side behind me? Go. Perfect. Amazing patterns. And she knows that you have to be very lucky to see them. She's just wondering how come we see them so often. Generally, it's because we are in an amazing area for seeing, well, game in general, but especially for leopards. And so on, that is, yeah. And these leopards are just habituated from, most of them from birth, for many generations now, so they're brilliant to follow. You can follow them, you can get to them in vehicles off-road. And the reason we find them is because they're so relaxed. So if a leopard is walking down the road and hears a car coming, it just keeps walking down the road. Whereas in many parts of the world, they will just quickly disappear into the undergrowth. We can track them. There's some brilliant trackers working in this area and guides that have vast experience. Tracking is a lot of fun. And finding something like a leopard after following its tracks for quite a while and learning its whole story, what it was up to, is a lot of, really exciting. So combination of all those things just means that the leopard viewing here is phenomenal. And yes, as we've seen the last couple of weeks again, It really is something amazing. Well, a question from Laura. Nice to have Laura with us on the drive so close today. I know Rafi's really enjoyed it. Laura is Rafi's husband. No, other way around. Rafi would be Laura's husband. Laura, I'm sure you didn't miss it earlier, but just so that you know, there's now an elephant called Rafi as well in this area. So that was quite cool. Laura's just asking if I've ever had the opportunity to touch a leopard. Yes, but never while it was awake. I've only touched leopard that we've, in Pilanesberg and Madikwe and so on, we used to sometimes dart and collar leopard. So I've felt leopard, and they are much softer, much nicer to touch than lions, for instance. But never in the way of sort of just touching a leopard. They not things you touch easily. I have been touched by a leopard though, which was I stand to be corrected, but I'm sure it was Karula, and quite some years ago, when she walked past me, and the tail just brushed the way I was sitting, and it just touched my leg, and I'll never forget. It was just like the tiniest little touch, but it was received, not sort of handed out. She just walked right past the vehicle, and the tail just brushed past. It was quite cool. Same as elephant. I've never touched a wild elephant. Well, relatively speaking. In Pilanesberg there were a case where I had to push my mirror in because the elephant was squashing against it, so I stuck my hand in between him and the car's mirror to pull it in. But then again, I was lucky enough there to have been touched by elephant once or twice, where they come and have a look at you and just very so lightly, ever so lightly touch you with the tip of their trunk, and that's also very, very, very exhilarating. But as I said, it was from the animal's choice, not the other way around. Well, a more sort of practical question out of Thousand Oaks. Kim is asking, Thousand Oaks just sounds like a cool place. I'm sure it must be a lovely place with a name like that. Kim's just asking if there are any lodges close by. Definitely. There's a number of lodges in Sabi Sands. All of them great. Some of them amazing. And close by, one of my favorite places in the world probably is Voyatella. I've got a long history with Voyatella. I've had a lot of amazing times and experiences and years in this specific area, Djuma Game Reserve. And that's quite close. In the specific case, very close. In a straight line, probably 400 meters, less than half a mile. Voyatella has got two lodges, Voyatella and Galago, and they are really cool. If you ever come to this part of the world, you should look at it. I've got quite a nice way of staying as well. You don't just book a room like with many of the other lodges, you book the whole place. Stunning place, great guides. I know both the guides very well. Aubrey and Texan are the two main guides here. Lovely guys. And then the other one that I would like to mention, because we're driving in the area, it's not so close to us now, but within a few kilometers, is Arathusa. Also a beautiful place, massive big waterhole in front of them. Lovely, lovely lodge. I've gotten to meet the guides more recently. Really, really great bunch of guys there, and lovely place as well. But Sabi Sands has got many fantastic lodges, all of them which will give you not only an amazing stay but amazing wildlife experience as well. This truly is such a rich wildlife destination to travel to and to experience. Good question. Buzz is asking, why would small songbirds make alarm calls when they see leopard? We're now talking about things like robins and cisticulas and things like that. Very good question. Very sort of thought through question. Buzz is studying or in the field of marine biology, so that's maybe part of it. I think it's just because they like to announce that there's leopards around. You must keep in mind that birds or various animals work together as well to some extent or another. And small songbirds are not really threatened by leopard, but at the same time, leopard will catch anything. I've seen them grab little birds just because the opportunity is there. So the birds, they sort of all gang together and say, listen, if there is something around, we're going to try and warn about it if the opportunity is there. So it's not something that typically happens all the time, but if a leopard is moving around, and especially when it's hunting around and it suddenly gives a little bird a fright, they will make a lot of noise about it. Even if it's just to warn other birds in the area that, listen, there's something around that you've got to be wary of. Something that typically happens all the time, but if a leopard is moving around, and especially when it's hunting around and it suddenly gives a little bird a fright, they will make a lot of noise about it. Even if it's just to warn other birds in the area. We were very lucky with the weather holding out. Almost at the end of drive, and we managed to get through it. I think we've got a couple more days of big rain ahead of us, and we will make plans as it goes along. We've got a few things we're working on that we should be getting later in the week. But just while I'm thinking of it, Will, maybe if one or two of the guys can quickly go out and just grab the temporary structure that I put up for the jigger and Jason and myself if need be. I don't think we should leave it out there tonight, although maybe, I don't think we're going to have big wind tonight. Maybe we can leave it there. Maybe we should just leave it until tomorrow morning. We might need, I actually want to go show you guys this afternoon. I was going to make part of my drive to go past and just show you what the sort of the next little step is in what we're planning. But in the end, this leopard was just too good and too much to enjoy, and I think we're just going to spend the rest of the drive sitting with him. Why her? I keep thinking of Karula when I look at this guy. Hey, look at that face, look at the eyes. Beautiful. It's a lazy cat. Yeah. That looks like a good sleep. I'm going to have one myself tonight. We've had a long day. We're getting up at about 4 o'clock in the mornings here. That's earlier even than a lot of leopards. this is a relaxed leopard now, and I'm so glad that we got to spend a fair bit of time with him today, because as I've said quite a few times, this is a leopard that I hope to see and get to know a little bit over the next sort of 3 weeks or so, 3.5 weeks that we're still here, or that I'm still here. Because when I leave, I miss this area, I miss the low veld, miss the bush veld, and I miss the leopards, really do. It is just something so amazing to experience every time. To be able to do this, what we're doing right now, is something that you can only explain in sharing it. You can't just tell people about it. You have to share it like we're doing. Yeah, Deb, a bit of sort of fun chat going on there. Saying not to leave things lying around. Karula will grab a pillow if she can get one. Just looking at this one sleeping so nicely. And I think this is, Deb's obviously been with Wild Earth a long time. Going back 6 years or so, Karula went through this spell when she was in estrus, which is sort of like being on heat. And she was marking an area a lot in the hope of attracting males, even various males, to the area. And she went through a stage where she was marking, scent marking, and pulling our washing down off the washing lines quite often at the camp. And I still don't know if it was because of the texture, because it felt so soft for her to rub up against, or maybe the smells, which is something that we considered. The fact that in washing there's obviously from the soap and from the softeners certain smells that she might really have liked. One of my many favorite and happy memories from the Djuma days. Well, almost at the end of the drive, and I think maybe 1 or 2 more questions to answer. I just really enjoyed this, sitting here, and I think also because it's nice and cool, and you can feel the bit of rain in the air. But at the same time, we are so privileged to enjoy such amazing wildlife. So maybe we can end with a question from Lisa. That's just asking if there's any safeguards to protect animals from poachers. I would presume in the wider area of Kruger, and more specifically to Sabi Sands, which is where we are. And as much as it's maybe a difficult question to have to think about sometimes when you're just sitting out in such an amazing environment like we are right now, it is an important question to think about. Because if we don't look after these things, if we don't look after these places and after these animals, they might be gone before we know it. The short answer, Lisa, would be yes, there are. There are various steps in place in Africa, in South Africa, and certainly in Sabi Sands to protect wildlife from poachers. And maybe also important to realize that there are different types of poaching. You get a little bit of the sort of for the pot poaching. In other words, someone that's maybe putting a few little sneaky snares here and there to get something to eat. You do get that sometimes still. Is that such a big problem? Not necessarily, as long as it doesn't become too big, too common. But that's very seldom. In fact, most of these places now, places like Sabi Sands, the communities around the area are so involved with the different activities, the lodges and so forth, that they they understand what it's about. So the kind of poaching, unfortunately, that's being dealt with here is money poaching, for lack of a better description. And this is something I haven't discussed in depth with many people or friends or guides. I've been living up in Namibia, where we're very lucky to not have big issues like this yet, hopefully never. So this is a question I would certainly like to contemplate more and think about more before I answer it more in depth. But what I mean with money poaching is it's for greed, on the ground, and also where the money comes from. In other words, the people funding it. So you might have the person on the ground here that's doing it, and he's getting a tidy sum of money that he could use for whatever. And that person wouldn't be very popular within the population here. And what I mean with that is that the lodges around here, the reserves around here, really support a lot of people, and there's a great positive feel towards it from the people living in these areas. Something that Namibia is hugely successful with is involving communities like what is happening around here. I just think about it now because Namibia has had some really amazing programs in that direction. But yet you get individuals that will quietly, without their friends knowing it, without their families knowing it, be involved in high-end species-specific poaching. Rhinos is the first one that comes to mind for Indian, all of us. It is unbelievable what's going on at the moment in Africa with rhino poaching. Elephants, the numbers are staggering what's happening at the moment. And do not leave out things like leopard and lion, pangolin. There are some very sad, very worrying things going on with that. But for Sabi Sands, it is very well protected, it is very well looked after. It is there's a big investment. Sorry guys, I'm just listening to Will there quickly as well, just giving me another update on something. But it's important to realize, sorry, that was, I think let me leave it at that. It's a bit difficult there to keep my train of thought because this is a very serious subject for me to talk about. I think let me leave it at that. It's a bit difficult there to keep my train of thought because this is a very serious subject for me to talk about. But most important, the lodges, the people that visit here, and therefore they have to look after the resources and put in the necessary steps to look after that. But all the steps you can think of and many that you can't think of are being put in place, and specifically in Sabi Sands they're at the cutting edge of everything possible to look after this wildlife. Fortunately, because there is high economic value to this wildlife as well. And we must realize that, and the more countries that realize, people that realize that these animals are worth so much to us, share with our children and grandchildren. But from an economic point of view, the existence of these animals into the future is worth so much to us that we must look after them. And the only way to do this is through education and through talking and through sharing, telling each other this, that we must look after this for all the reasons, all the beautiful reasons like the generations after us, but also all the maybe shallower but very strong reasons of that these animals are worth a lot to us as potential income, bringing people to come and see them, to share this what we're doing right now. So these are all things to think about, and I'll think about this more, and I will get better at explaining this with you in future because it is a big subject. And thank you for asking that, Lisa. We've been dancing around this for a little while, and it's something that I know that needs to be talked about because it's very much in our face. It's right here. Like this leopard, like the massive privilege and the massive pleasure to be able to sit here with a leopard a couple of yards away and just share time and share space. And that's been my pleasure this afternoon. So from this, here from the vehicle, I want to thank you very much. For myself, Peter Pretorius, Jason in the vehicle, all the guys in control, Will and standing by that side for the rain, and all of you from all over helping us to make this possible. Thanks so much, and I look forward to all the exciting stuff we're going to share down the line. You must have a lovely time where you are, and we look forward to seeing you out here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.